Welcome back to the Chōten Podcast, where we sit down with the founders, leaders, and innovators shaping the future of business, and we're going to explore how AI, social media, psychology, human behavior are transforming the way we lead, sell, and grow. Today, I'm honored to have someone who has impacted thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. Dave Blanchard, CEO of Habit Finder, is one of the leading voices in the science behind thought patterns, mindset, and personal transformation. Dave, welcome to the show. Thank you for being on.
Thank you, Ben. Looking forward to serving your audience.
Awesome, Dave. Well, I'm really glad that you could jump on. I want to get right into it. So, give us a little bit of a background. How'd you get started with Habit Finder?
Great question. I was shooting some commercials for CNBC in New York City, and got a call from Betty Mandino, who's the widow of Og Mandino. Wrote The Greatest Salesman in the World, The Greatest Secret, some really wonderful, Greatest Miracle, wonderful books. And she said, the rights to The Greatest Salesman in the World are not being renewed, the film rights, the training rights, etc. And I wanted to call you first.
Okay.
Would you be interested? And I said, Betty, is this a rhetorical question? Because I had spent 10 years paying back $1 million in debt after the collapse of the real estate market in Southern California. It was painful. I have 7 children, put 7 kids through college, married 4 daughters during that 10 years. It was an amazing experience. And I found Og Mandino and The Greatest Salesman in the middle of that dark period of time. And it was just a light. So she asked me if I would be responsible for taking this crown jewel from the Mandino family into the 21st century. And I thought, oh yeah. So I'm sitting back a bit now going, okay. Og Mandino talks about habits. He says that bad habits are the unlocked door to failure. Good habits are the key to success. He says we've surrendered our free will to these years of accumulated habits. The past deeds of our life have already marked out a path that threatens to imprison our future. It's all about habits. And I said, we are going to find the quintessential tool for measuring habits of thinking. And I went on a search. I found it at the University of Tennessee. It's based on a Nobel Prize nominated mathematics created by Robert Hart. The first time I saw it used, it was very complex. Very complex, but it absolutely started nailing. How does it know that? From the simplicity of a 15-minute experience taking the assessment. It's all mathematics. So we embraced it. We spent $3 million the next 25 years perfecting that science. And I remember one day we're sitting in the office and said, what should we call this assessment? And, well, what are we doing with it? We're finding habits. Well, somebody said, let's call it Habit Finder. We jumped on our account to see if the URL was available, and it was, so we bought it on the spot. So it became Habit Finder, which just sums it up entirely. And so we have been spending this time in the lives of people, and our greatest challenge a bit is that we go to a place most human beings have never been with another human being. Or we do personality, and those aren't bad tests. The DISC profile and Myers-Briggs, you go down that whole list of really good personality tests. Nobody's gone back to where the thoughts come up out of the subconscious and measured them at that level, because they impact everything. Mm-hmm. And if we become aware of them and shift them at that point, we can change everything in our lives. So people are uncomfortable going to that space, and it's a place that's very private for most of us. But we have perfected this science, and we'll talk more about where else we've taken it, because we've created versions of it for health. We've created versions where we can measure an entire team and come back and say, here's where this team is thinking. These are the thought processes they have in common. Let's zero in on this one, this one, and this one, create the greatest ROI for your organization. It's miraculous what's happened. And the last thing is to set the stage for our entire discussion. Partnering to take this project to virtual reality with AI.
Wow. Okay, amazing.
We'll meet this little 72-year-old guy with white hair and glasses, this avatar. They'll walk into their own mind And they'll start meeting their habits of thinking the way they're currently showing up. They'll look like, sound like, talk like their habits of thinking. And because we're not our habits, so we get separation. And be able to have an AI conversation. These will all be agents that can carry on a conversation with them about why they think this way. It's going to be amazing. That's probably 2 to 3 years out, but AI has opened up an amazing door.
It's amazing what it's been able to do.
Not only do the complex interpretive information, but to have actual characters talking. That's in a conversation.
Absolutely. I definitely want to touch base on that specific AI model later on in the conversation. First, I want to kind of ask, more about why it is so important to be able to find these habits within entrepreneurs and founders, and what do you guys do once you guys find them? How do you help improve the habits?
Thank you. Well, we know that we have habits of thinking that are being developed in our brain. They go through the brainstem, the diencephalon, and the limbic brain, and to the subconscious, and they come out. And they've been bouncing off of trauma triggers and stress responses, some of them from our life, some epigenetically, passed down from previous generations. And when they come to the surface, the latest research, the first at the University of Tennessee, would tell you that we're unaware of 90% of it. Imagine, it's dangerous. And you're unaware of it, and it crashes down on you like a tsunami, taking out your willpower, your consistency, and leaving you emotionally paralyzed. Well, we do that enough, and we memorize those emotions, and Joe Dispenza would say that's called personality. We start having behavioral tendencies based on those habits. That turns into personality. That impacts our decisions, our actions, and our results. So I just say to the audience, are you happy with your current results? In your health, in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in your finances. If you're not happy with the results, if you only go halfway back to personality, well, I'm a high D in a disc profile. Great profile, by the way, for personality. I'm a high D, I'm a driver. Okay. Would you like to know the habits of thinking that are driving the driver? 95% of the time we find that is damaged self-esteem for which they are overcompensating. That's not healthy. But I'm a high D. I get the label. I get to be that person. I'm not into labels. I'm into becoming the best version of yourself. And that's why Habit Finder. It takes us to the source. And when we can hear that thought process, then we can teach principles and practices and processes to shift those habits of thinking, which very literally creates a new neural pathway in the brain. Moment of decision, usually go this way. I'm consciously going this way. And I'm going there enough times to create, Og Mandino said, a new furrow, and I'm planting seeds, and a new neural pathway is growing. And the brain's so kind that when it's established, synaptically prunes off the bad habit. Me, that is the purest definition of self.
Absolutely.
It's not coaching. It's not books. It's not podcasts. No offense. It's not what I do. All I do is prepare a client for that pivotal moment when they're making the decision to choose differently. Consciousness. We're raising consciousness and giving them the tools to execute differently. If they do it, I can't do it for them. If they'll do that and do it enough times, they'll have a new habit of thinking. Prune off the bad habit, and they very literally have a new neural pathway in their brain, and that's self-improvement. That's why this.
Amazing. That's great. And one of the things that kind of popped into my head whenever you were mentioning that was, as people, we might have a little bit of self-reflection, but maybe we just go back to that personality. Like, we just look back at our personality, we try to fix something there. And in reality, we're just not going deep enough into the habits and the thought patterns that we're having that shape our decisions and our physical habits every day. So, what would you say to someone who may be doing that? Maybe only thinking one layer deeper, or maybe a little too afraid to think even deeper into their deeper habits?
Well, you've raised a really important point, because This is so unusual, it's scary for some people. I'm working with a corporation. Sometimes the CEO does not want to take the assessment. Brene Brown's, the imposter syndrome, they're going to find out who I really am. No, it's not like that. This is someone who really wants to be the best version of themselves, so we have them take this assessment so that they can finally know which habits are causing problems. Because you're right, if we're unconscious, and we are most of the time, we're just on automatic. Can I give you an example? One of the most common ones today is probably true of your audience, because they're pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Entrepreneurial, independent thinkers. How about something like that? 97% of the time, that group of people have one thought process in common. It's the thought process that drives vivid visualization, visualizer. And I say, well, I'm not talking about heaven's open angels singing, that's a vision. I'm talking about visualization, being able to see things. So explore the question, does life ever show up differently than I want it to? Oh yeah, all the time. Well, different than what? That's the vivid visualization. Do you ever worry? Next time you're worrying, just stop and say, how vividly am I seeing all these people and places and interactions? That's vivid visualization. 1%, 98 use it destructively. 98% use it destructively. We want life to be easier and less stressful, so we go create an expectation, a concrete condition for happiness. That's what happens with this thought process when we're thinking about the future.
Yeah.
Dopamine, norepinephrine hit. Wow, this is exciting. And then we hold life hostage and it keeps showing up differently. And every time it does, we get the antithesis of the dopamine and norepinephrine. We get a cortisol surge from our sympathetic nervous system, stress hormone, activation of our amygdala, the shutting down of our prefrontal cortex, emotional paralysis. So we go back into the future to imagine what it's going to be like to get relief. The vast majority of those with this gift are using it, believing that if I visualize with enough intention, somehow it's going to magically manifest. Now, if you've got the gift, we're so excited to teach someone how to actually use it. What do you want to create? Not what do you want. Want is a fantasy. What do you want that you're willing to create? What's your current reality? What are the millimeters between here and there? Use this gift of vivid visualization to see it clearly, then come back and see the first millimeter clearly. Get an inspired idea. Ignite your passion, drive your action, create, celebrate, and reality just move forward a notch, and then another notch, and then another notch. And we start to find joy in the journey. We acquire additional layers of ability to see things we didn't see before. And partners with, two atheists said, the power that orders the planets. My belief system, the power that created the planets, however you want to look at it, in that spectrum, wherever you fit, there's a place for you. But when we learn how to use that gift constructively, we actually become a creator. I've spent my entire life in intentional creation. I've got that gift. I see the vision, but I don't live in it. I want a real bank account with real money, with which to buy a real couch. Seeing the vision, having that pull me, getting clear about reality, which will kind of push me, and focusing on millimeters. That would be an example of a habit of thinking that if you are starting a business and you've got this gift and you use it in fantasy and end up in catastrophe, and fantasy and end up in catastrophe, can't figure out why you just can't get it to work. Using the gift destructively, I can measure that. And I know exactly what they're struggling with, and I can teach them the principles, practices, and processes to finally become an intentional creator and create their dreams. Another reason why Habit Finder is so critical. You can zero in on those specific challenges.
Amazing. How were you able to implement that within yourself?
That's a great question. It was revealing when I took it the first time. I'm the kind of guy that I see a pile of poop, I jump in looking for a pony. So I'm just constantly in creation. I don't do catastrophe anymore. I did that during the 10 years paying back that $1 million in debt and trying to survive. I realized that nothing good could ever come out of catastrophe. So life experience taught me that. So I can apply it here because I don't do it anymore. But I know people who are because they're where I was. I know what that feels like. So I can use my life experience to help another person. I can also use the assessment to identify very specific areas. I'll give you an example. Sometimes when we have this gift of vivid visualization, we create expectations. They don't happen. As one man once said in tears, I can almost touch it. I can almost taste it. Why can't I have it? What's wrong with me? And he actually said, does God not love me? Did I do something wrong along the way? And he's just punishing me. That was his perspective. Well, we see it. We don't have it. There must be something wrong with us. I had some residual from that. I had an experience. May I just share one with you?
Absolutely, please do.
Ramona and I are my sweetheart. We've been married 50 years. She's amazing.
Wow.
And we were sitting on a Sunday night having a conversation about love language. And not just the 5. Because her love language is organization.
Okay.
And she does. And I said, I know I lost 77 pounds over the last few years getting healthy. It's been one person on the radar screen than I was. Getting healthy. So I had sizes of clothes, several sizes and full wardrobes for each one of them. And they're all still in my closet. She says, yes, it's like I need the jaws of life to separate 2 shirts to put one on the rack. Now my closet was clean, but it was packed. Mm-hmm. She kept saying to me, could we clean it out? And I, no. She said, she was so kind. She never pushes. At that moment I said, you know what? Maybe we should go clean out my closet. And she said, I said, how about right now? So at 9:30 on a Sunday night, we take these garbage bags into the closet. By the time we finished, it was doable. And there were 4 bags of clothes and 1 bag of shoes. And I take a shirt and I love this shirt. She said, try it on. And I tried it on and go like this all the way around me. She said, let's give it to somebody who can use it. Mm-hmm. By the way, we found some people that were at our church congregation that could, oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have this wardrobe. Anyway, bottom line is, I felt peaceful about my closet, but that wasn't what I learned. The next day we're on a mountain bike ride. Ramona's ahead. Our dog Marty's running in between us, and I'm going up the trail. And all of a sudden I had a flashback in the 3rd grade. Standing in a playground and I'm bawling. I remembered it like it was yesterday. I had just been denied a friendship from the cool kids in the class because I didn't have Gold Cup socks, Dead's tennis shoes, Levi jeans, and a polo t-shirt or whatever it was at the time. And when I got a hole in my jeans, my mom did an iron-on patch, and it was on my left knee. I still remember it's on my left knee. I'm bawling, and it hit me. I kept all those clothes as a safety net against poverty.
Wow.
Oh, this was just a few months ago. I'm having this realization.
Wow.
And I'm bawling. I've got tears pouring out my eyes. I had to stop my bike and just get my composure, or I kept biking. I felt it. I let it pass through me. And I felt a new person. Huge burden had been lifted off. Well, when I go back and I'm studying my assessment, I'm practicing these principles. I was stepping into my wife's world and seeing what was most important to her and having this awareness. It all unfolded because of the assessment and the principles that we teach. So I want to be a product of those processes. I want breakthroughs every month. Mm-hmm. I don't want to ever arrive. I want to keep having breakthroughs. And by taking an assessment, practicing the principles, and as importantly as a coach, and you've got coaches on this call, I don't know how to build a coach. One of the most exciting things about being a coach is you coach yourself every time you coach a client. If they knew how much we got out of that session, they wouldn't want to pay us.
Absolutely.
Bring all your life experiences, everything to that moment, and you get to talk to yourself while you're helping someone change their life. Yeah, that's what it does to me.
Amazing. That's an amazing perspective. Thank you so much for sharing that story. That's a great story to hear. I think there's so many times in our lives where we have these moments, right? Where we will always remember, and as we age, as we get older, these moments will become pivotal moments in our lives without us even knowing it at the time. For example, having the jeans with the hole in them, that bike ride, a pivotal moment, cleaning out your closet. You didn't think it was going to be a pivotal moment in your life, but it was. So much so that you were, able to share that on a podcast, and I think that is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that story. It really speaks to, really being present in the moment, living your life, and honestly, I really enjoyed hearing that. Now, I would love to speak a little bit about your business, how you guys are currently running the business, what the business structure sort of looks like, what your sales processes look like. What are you guys doing on the business side of things?
I made a decision several years ago, but one, I would always be a coach, even though I'm the founder and CEO of the company. I would always be the coach. I mentioned a few moments ago that I lost 77 pounds. Well, I ended up buying the coaching organization that changed my life. So I've got 17,000 health coaches now. I'm running that business. And I've got a couple of hundred Augmentino Habit Finder coaches all over the world that I'm running that business. So personally, I always have a coaching practice in both of those. I have health coaching clients, and because as a coach, you never want to get bigger than too long for your cot, Augmentino used to say. You want to be in the trenches with the people, because that's where you learn the most. Everything that we teach in our team, I learned working with a client, talking to a prospective client, doing a marketing exercise. So it's all practical application. So now let's go to this group over here of Habit Finder coaches. These are Habit Finder. I'm a Habit Finder health coach over here. That's the version of the assessment. Measures all the habits of thinking related to food, food noise, and losing weight and getting healthy. And this one, we train about 5 to 10 new coaches a year. That's it. The reason why we only train 5 to 10 is I want them to be successful. Because our model, we charge $10,000 to do the training. That's 6 months of pretty intense effort. It's in stages, and we give them the assessment first so they can immediately start doing debriefs on the assessment. Then they're training on the material so they can start coaching clients while they're in the training process. But I want them to be able to earn back their money before they finish their training. Now, at that point forward, our only relationship is I continue training them every Tuesday, and we hold semi-annual conferences here at my home. We bring 30 coaches in, our best 30, and we train them for a couple of days. It's great. And we do all of that as part of their initial fee. Their relationship with us going forward is when they get a client, and that's an operative phrase. When they get a client, I get $300 to cover the intellectual property they give their client. That's all I get. Mm-hmm. They keep 100% of the fee beyond that. So my motivation is what? To create a coaching mill with lots and lots of people out there coaching, or lots and lots of people paying money. Because you go to a coaching mill, and there are coaching mills out there where they just train lots of people. They might have 6,000 coaches and 100 of them making money.
Yeah.
That is a tragedy.
Right.
Someone says to me they want to be a coach. Well, we're going to find out if they really want to be one. Because I'm going to be investing more than $10,000 to bring them up to speed. Because I want them getting clients, because our primary revenue source is from the sale of the workbook.
Okay.
It really puts pressure on me to deliver, and it puts pressure on me to be selective, and it puts pressure on them to succeed. I don't want 6,000 coaches to pay me money who are unhappy because they can't figure out how to build a business. doesn't make any sense at all. So we arm our coaches with the assessment tool. I just did an assessment with two owners of a large ad agency yesterday. With one of our coaches. He's a new coach, and I'm helping him do it. And the conversation is, what's happening in your organization? We did assessments on everybody. Got down to what the major issues are. And the first decision was they want to do debriefs, first income source. Second, we're going to have these 3 or 4 subjects being trained into the group for which they have practicums. That coach will buy those practicums from me. I'll receive revenue for that, and he'll assess them. Our mission is our coach's success. That's our model. Simple.
Amazing. So you're definitely much more of a quantity or quality over quantity type of deal. I agree 100% with that. I think long term that is absolutely the way to go. The quantity method, it'll give short-term results. It'll probably give more short-term results actually, but for that long-term benefit, the quality method is much more important. And I think that's something that young entrepreneurs really need to understand as well, myself included. I was very much just like, get as many clients, get as much as you can, and you end up giving worse services. You end up not being able to take care of each individual client, and that just leaves you with worse results, right? So I highly believe in that method as well. Let's circle back to the AI and how. Go ahead.
One thing very quickly, and that is, I'm the kind of person that can do 6 to 8 coaching sessions in a day, an hour and a half each. I'm a 14-hour-a-day guy. I always have been. It doesn't bother me. I love it so much it feeds my soul. Most people, if they found out what it actually takes to be fully present with a person for an hour to an hour and a half in a session, could only do a couple a day, and it would be exhausting. So we have dreams. Before you have dreams of millions of dollars, have dreams of delivering great value and developing the tolerance for being that fully present for that long.
Absolutely. And actually, you bring up a point that I hear a lot on this podcast, and it's delivering exceptional value is the most important thing. And then you also brought up passion. You know, in one of my last episodes, we spoke about how if you don't have the conviction, the passion in what you're selling, value that you're providing your clients, they'll never get it. It's a shift of energy, right? You're shifting your energy onto them. If you don't have the passion or the conviction, how are they ever going to have that? So that passion is so incredibly important. Speak to that. Why must we have so much passion, dedication to providing that value rather than just going for more money?
Mission since I was 14 is to heal torn bodies or torn minds. It's been my life mission. Everything I've done has been focused on that basic principle. So it's innate. That's not true for everyone. But when someone starts serving a person and they see that person's life shifting, that can really ignite passion. So it can come as a result of, or you can bring it to it. But coaching is a great profession to be able to. We're concerned about coaches that go out and they're trying to get clients, and the client says, well, what are we going to do? What's the message? Somebody says to me, can you send me some information? I said, no, but I can have you take a free assessment. We can spend 30 minutes just taking a look at the results, and you know exactly what I can do. I want them to experience it. That's what Habit Finder does for us. It allows us to give a person an experience. Then we can get the engagement. Then we can start to provide the service. And we do have a structure to it for those 6 areas of thinking. And the coach brings their own experience and sometimes their own coaching material in to supplement that. That's okay. But that's kind of foundational for what we do. That helps sustain the passion because we have proven results that changes people's lives. And that's what sustains the passion. That's what sustains it.
Yeah, and I love the idea of once you see the results, you see the change that you're giving in people's lives, you're going to ignite more passion. So what sort of advice could you give someone who maybe is searching for their first client, hasn't gotten that client yet, so they don't they know they have the expertise and the knowledge, but they don't know if they have the ability to do the coaching yet.
Ask that most of them don't know what to say or questioning their ability and expertise. They have such a desire to be a coach, but they either haven't prepared themselves or haven't owned their life experience sufficiently to be able to show up and provide guidance. I asked a question to a young coach: who would pay you to give them counsel? Well, there's the market you want to start with. You're not going to walk into the CEO of a Fortune 500 company as a brand new coach who's never really owned a business and tell them how to conduct their life. How do you feel here? I think of all the professions that I see, this one sometimes has a low barrier to entry. If you pay the fee, they'll train you. It's also an area where there's a lot of fantasy about what's possible. A lot of fantasy. I can't wait to have this many clients and this much money, and it's all about what's going to happen. And it's not about being so deeply personally prepared and convicted that you know why you're going to talk to that person. You know how you're going to serve that person. Now, absent a habit finder assessment, I must be honest with you. That's a tough meeting. If I'm sitting down with a person, I can have a younger coach, which is interesting, talk to a more sophisticated person because the tool allows them to go to a place that addresses those person's needs. And then they can teach principles and practices into them, and they'll have an amazing experience, even with someone who's a little less experienced with life. So the experience you gain with life and you bring to it, or you gain as a coach, just makes it richer and richer and richer. I see too many people that spend lots of money, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. They get all hyped up and excited about getting trained as a coach, and they face that moment. Okay, the moment of truth. Who do I talk to and what do I say? And they haven't got a clue other than, oh, well, I've been trained as this kind of coach. Okay, well, what does that mean? What do you say?
Sure.
The answer to that is time to stop living in the future and get really present in the now and go get what you need to be able to have that conversation. We don't have problems marketing. We just find out people who'd like their life to be different. Let's find out what's in the way. So we take the assessment. We know what's in the way. They may not be willing to take it on. That happens all the time. But those who are going, oh my goodness, this is exactly it. We have a client. To make that introduction. I don't know how somebody does it without it. Don't know. Unless they're a former CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I have a former CEO as one of our coaches. He stepped right into big clients, $20,000 engagements with this material. He had so much life experience to bring to the principles. It was incredible. That's usually not the case. But if someone is in that space, he could probably go out and talk to business owners, and they want to know what he knows, just his experience alone. But if you don't have any experience, what are you offering to this person? If your life is a mess, how are you going to help somebody straighten out their life?
Absolutely. You can't do it for yourself. How can you ever do it for anyone else? It's the concept of an unfit physical trainer. You're never gonna want to listen to somebody who looks like they don't lift or work out, can't run a mile, to teach you how to lift and work out and run a mile.
Pay me a lot of money. Let me tell you what to do to get healthy. Now, it's not always apparent, but it can be in a very short form conversation. If someone will engage a person in a conversation, no, that's not the coach I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
So they're either looking for someone with enormous personal experience or with tools that can take them to places they need to address. That's really this world. I might add something that people are experiencing. I'm writing a new book. It's my fourth book. It's entitled The Age of Resistance, The 6 Triggers. I've been studying this for years, and it's time to finally get this out. Because never before, for those looking at coaching or in coaching, if you're running into a lot of resistance, people are very resistant to spending money. They're so stressed. Life keeps showing it different than they want it to. They're just overwhelmed by everything. They have fear they can't take on one more thing. They're in pain from their trauma in their life. They're tired. They're suspicious. Oh, they've never been so suspicious. You look at all of these triggers, and they're very real. And you want to have tools and ability to know how to step into a person's world, not keep throwing up on that wall of resistance. How to step into their world and create a safe place. Release that energy and cooperation so you can actually connect with them and start with them. If we don't know how to do this, I mean, experience is great, tools are wonderful, and then the ability to connect with a human being. All those things combined, somebody can succeed in today's marketplace. Even then, it's a little bit of a tough pull. It's going to be for another season. People are just tired of being sold stuff. So whatever you do in your marketing, don't be the guy who's flashy, trying to sell something and make promises that you can't deliver. You see that all the time, the clickbait kind of stuff.
Yep, the Lamborghini, yeah.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's amazing perspective.
Fantasize.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. How you're using AI within your business and how it's changed since you've started.
Well, it's just become an integral part of everything we do. You write something and you let AI take a shot at it to see how much nicer that could be. The most important development is an AI agent. We're working with a company developing an outbound agent. She sounds like you and I talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you think I should do about this? Well, let me think about that for a second. You could probably consider this and this and this. She's an AI agent. She's like talking to a human being. We're going to use that in our health business because we've got a lot of former clients that in today's market are probably putting a little bit of weight on, and we want to talk to 1,000 clients in just my business. About 1 million we want to connect with. We're going to use the AI agent to have conversations with them. That's powerful. We're going to use a combination of 3D graphics and animation for someone to meet their habits of thinking. I mentioned that early on the podcast. Agent knows everything about that habit of thinking and all the others and how they're impacting it, because it's capable of doing all of that and carrying on a conversation with a person about how this habit of thinking might be impacting their life. To be able to meet your own habit of thinking and not like it, surrender to that. What are my options? Well, press the button and see how I respond when I'm in balance. And all of a sudden, that's the guy I want or the lady I want to be. That's it. Okay, let's talk about what it takes to get there. This is going to take self-improvement to an entirely different arena. Because when they start to improve, they're going to earn a habit coin. Cryptocurrency.
Wow. Okay. So you're gamifying it with real, tangible.
For a business owner, I say, well, let's put your 40 people on the program. It's $50 a piece. So it's going to cost you a couple grand a month. Okay. But every time they earn a coin, you earn one too. And if you can give them enough time to actually work on it every day, you'll see the results in your business. And this will be a net zero cost to you.
Mm-hmm.
Actually make money having your clients train on the platform.
Absolutely.
It's 1 billion coins. It takes a long time to use up 1 billion coins, and exciting. To finally have gamified self-improvement, especially for Gen Zs. I mean, they love games. Let's put them in a game. Let's make self-improvement a game where they learn, they get rewarded, and they come back and practice in tangible reality what they've learned. It's going to be the new face of self-improvement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
the dream I had 15 years ago.
It's a dream you had 15 years ago?
I had the vision of this 15 years ago. Having this, I could see it, but there was no technology to support it. Then 3D graphics and the Meta, glasses came out, and I went, okay, we're not going to do that because it hasn't caught on. It's still going to be in a 2D environment, but kind of 3D in its application. Right. AI and its birth 3 years ago yesterday or something like that. It's had its birthday now. Oh my goodness, the advances and these new agents that are being developed.
It's been amazing.
Build their personality, their character, their intention from the ground up. They're just good, almost people.
Yeah.
And then
It's
there's 6.4 quadrillion variables in our assessment, literally, that we have to account for. And so I can look at an assessment and I can just tell everybody what's going on. For a new coach to get there, I've done this 10,000 times, one-on-one with a client, 10,000 times. AI is going to know in 2 months, probably more than I know. Mm-hmm. That's nuts. To draw all the pieces out to help that person get the richest experience possible. And then I don't have to train a coach as deeply. They'll understand how it's working. But they don't have to deliver the interpretation. AI delivers it for them. Mm-hmm. And they get to supplement it. We're not eliminating the human being. We're just creating something that's so complex into something so simple. Having this conversation. They're talking to your habit of thinking. They says, I have conditions on it. In fact, one of the conditions is, this is from another area of the assessment, one of the conditions is that you're only valuable if and when you're producing at this income level, or you're making this much money. And it tells them exactly, because it's having this conversation. How much money do you think is successful? That's when you start making that, there won't be this condition on your worth. What would happen if we just became intrinsically priceless, regardless of performance, so that you could show up more whole and complete, which would actually improve your performance? How many times do you get an inspiration about another human being? You stop that. But you're not going to stop it till you love yourself.
Amazing.
When you love yourself, you're okay. You don't need to make it about you anymore. Mm-hmm. The selfish thing you can do is have this negative dialogue about your worth, your ability, your character, your value, your ideas, your contribution. This is awful.
Amazing. You mentioned something really important there. And I know you're a football fan. You must know Jameis Winston, very eccentric guy. I actually saw a podcast clip of him yesterday, I believe. And he said one thing that you mentioned is that you can't be your biggest fan and your worst enemy at the same time. In order to have that success, you need to be able to love yourself. And that's one thing he was just preaching. That's exactly what you just said. And that's a very common theme that I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, or just entrepreneurs in general, really have to internalize and find that love within themselves. Otherwise, they're eventually going to crash and burn. And you see the highest level successful people all have that love for themselves. And maybe some people think of it as ego, maybe some people think it's arrogance, but at the end of the day, it's love for yourself.
I'll give you the word. It's genuine. Our objective is to help someone be real, genuine, authentic, without the need to impress or pretend or feel shame or fear. That's the most difficult task in our mortal existence and the highest level of maturity. The word genuine has the same root word as genus. Genius, it's genius. To embrace your genius and bring it fully to the service of another person. Otherwise, you rob yourself and you rob them. That is not ego. That's being genuine. When someone says, "Oh, great job," you go, yeah, but I could. That's not being genuine. That's false pride. False humility. Yes, thank you. It's an honor serving you. That's healthy. That way, when you get an impression, you can freely go serve and give them all you've got. Because it's not about you questioning you. And we live in a world where people have relatively high levels of empathy and intuition, but equally levels of challenged self-worth. This is the battle. And if I were to give it to you in habit finder terms, here I am sitting in the observer's chair. It's one of my books. The observer's chair, being whole and complete. I've got a habit of thinking over here that wants to question my worth. Do I stay here, or do I get up and walk over and sit in that chair and let it speak for me? I can't love myself and be my worst enemy, interpreted by me, is I can't love myself and let my unhealthy habit of thinking run my life. That's not me. It's just a habit of thinking. Can I get out of that chair, walk back over here, and own my pricelessness? No, there might be some therapeutic intervention to make that happen, more than just coaching. But to be here and to be okay, again, we want to be whole so that we can fully serve, so we can give ourselves fully. You can't do that when you've got all this self-deprecating dialogue. That's one of the areas of assessment, by the way. That's called self-worth. We measure the 6 measurements with which we look at ourselves in terms of worth and worthiness.
Mm-hmm. Now, there is a fear, and I will say a valid fear as well, of AI coming in and sort of replacing the people and taking away that human element. So within your coaching and within how you're using AI, how can you ensure that people are still having that human connection and still getting the value that you've been getting while also having that AI model in place?
I'm going to say something I hope I don't regret. If you've been complacent, just trying to get by, going through the day, showing up at 8 o'clock at work, and you need 45 minutes to fuel yourself with coffee, your first thought is, what am I going to do during my break? 5 o'clock, the door hits you on the butt, and you don't think about it till the next morning, you are in trouble. Your job is going to be replaced by AI. For someone who's in creation and creative and thinking of options, they're literally going to be using AI to drive their own progress.
Right.
In our case, when you're dealing with something that's so comprehensive, it takes years to train somebody, and it could do it in moments. Why don't we save that aggravation and turn that coach loose to go talk to people and find new clients and have this experience and then work with them? Let the tool do the work of the interpretive piece, which you can do magically, and make it simple. Why not? I think the people that are in the greatest trouble are those who've just been getting by.
Right. So that brings us back to the passion that we originally talked to. It's the most important time period to actually do something that you can feel that passion for.
Absolutely. And just so everybody knows, AI writes things so well, you can kind of tell. There are software packages that, professors have to use to find out if the student's using AI to write the term paper, right? It's really good, but it's not human. There is a touch that we have, gift we have as a human that'll never be replaced.
I think it's the perfectness of AI is the thing that we can never replicate as humans. And I think the flaws within humans are, at its core, what makes us human, right? It's what sets us apart from these robots. And that's also what makes us unique. All of these small flaws that every person has, or maybe not even flaws, but imperfections, or whatever you want to call them. That's what makes us unique, and that's what sets us apart, and will always set us apart from these robots.
Go down someone's path, see through their eyes, and really feel what they're feeling. AI will never feel. It'll say it's feeling. Oh, I understand where you are. Oh, that must hurt. It's got all the words. It doesn't have the intrinsic piece that's discernible when someone truly is in it.
Right.
I want to do complicated calculations for me. I want it to make amortization schedules for me. I want to do all kinds of stuff that it could do just like that. I'm going, wow, that just saved us a lot of time.
Yeah. And you make a good point. I actually have this belief that right now, because of how new AI is, we're trying to make everything AI. Everything's going to be AI, and eventually we'll find that a lot of tasks, a lot of things are meant to be for humans. You're right. Prioritization, data entry, the manual, menial, minutia work, that will all be handled by AI eventually. The stuff that no one really wants to do, or like small edits here and there. For example, this software, Riverside, I can just tell it, hey, remove all pauses or remove filler words or anything like that, and it'll do it. That's where AI is going to shine in the future. Right now, we don't know where AI is going to go, and everything is going to be everything is. We're trying to make everything AI, but like I said, I think when that bubble, if you want to call it that, pops, we're going to find that that human element will be the most important part. And it's going to be what sets a lot of companies apart. It's almost going to be a selling point where companies that rely too heavily on AI are going to be, that's going to be a negative on them. It's going to be a competitive advantage that, hey, we use AI to do a lot of the manual stuff and be efficient, but we're still here.
We never replace the human being. Yeah. You have personal touch. AI is pretty good, but it doesn't feel. It's a computer.
Amazing. I've had an amazing conversation so far. I just want to ask you a few more questions. Just some quick rapid fire questions. So first thing that comes to mind, but in your opinion, for a new founder, an old founder, just anybody who is starting their own business, what's the one quality or skill that you think that they must master before anything else?
Stay in creation. Every obstacle is just teaching you what needs to be done next. I see too many young people coming in, especially the young, coming in with very vivid visualization. They're living in the future all the time, and they're always frustrated with how it's unfolding. Get the vision, but don't live in it. Treat it like a target. That's where you're headed. And you'll get there as fast as you execute the millimeters between here. And millimeters can be boring, mundane, burdensome, repetitive, and hard. If you don't get a vision around the millimeter, so all right, we would see a gamma spike. Manage your passion. You work without counting the cost, tracking the time. You'll do whatever it requires to create that millimeter. And you go in and you get that created, and you get that sense of accomplishment. Next millimeter, next millimeter. Too many young entrepreneurs are focused on the outcome all the time. And it's killing them. Stay in the millimeter.
So really just focus and worry about the inputs as much as possible, and the outputs will take care of themselves.
The daily activities, make sure those are happening and you're staying focused there. If you fall in love with actually doing that, every entrepreneur who actually does this, before they ever get to the dream, they've already moved it out to another one because they love the process. Young entrepreneurial minds I've seen do not love the process of creation. They love the process of an exit plan. They love the process of making billions of dollars. They don't love what actually took to get there. And as a result, they have very little tolerance for the tenacity that it takes to stay in millimeters. And the only thing between where you are and where you want to be is just a series of millimeters. Embrace it. Fall in love with it. Become a creator. That's what an entrepreneur does. They are an intentional creator of millimeters. They get there. I just finished a project last night. It's been in the works for a year and in construction in millimeters. And they finished the last piece last night. Gosh, it's almost anticlimactic. I loved every minute of that creation.
Yeah. So it's just really important. Feel those little dopamine hits with every millimeter of the creation, and I guess at the end you will feel a little anticlimactic. Of course, you'll be happy. You'll be proud that you finished. But if you reward yourself,
yeah.
Exactly.
How long is it going to take? As long as it takes to create the millimeters.
Amazing. So, what's a simple daily practice that you keep in mind to create that healthier thinking? And
get up early. Do your exercising first. I have my essential amino acids, and I do my exercise program, then I spend an hour reading. That's how I start the day. I generally start my first appointment. That's why we're at 9 o'clock my time this morning, because that's the first one of the day. And we carry through the day. I always try to set 2 half-hour periods of time during the day when I can go sit in an easy chair, lean back, and say, I'm listening. And I just listen. Sometimes I fall asleep. I set an alarm in case I do. Sometimes I'm just tired and I go to sleep. Sometimes I get some of the greatest downloads in those moments to be still. When we're racing to an end, we don't take time to really listen. To spend time in that space and get it. You're doing things that bring you passion that you never tire. We physically get exhausted, that there's no question about that. And just get smart, take a vacation. You'll always be doing something with that.
Amazing. Okay, and last question for you. If you could just give one piece of wisdom, doesn't matter if it's even habit related, any piece of wisdom that you can give a young founder, what would that piece of wisdom be?
I spoke at my alma mater. I got invited to speak to the student body 4 years ago. And I spoke on this very topic. When I got done, everybody came up to shake your hand and talk to you. Most common answer was, I think I'll stay for 2 more years to get my master's. Which translated meant, I want to put off reality. Most young entrepreneurs, especially Gen Zs, for the most part, have got a fundamental shift to make. And that's living in the now. This is where things happen. Most want to live in their minds. Go there, visit it, get clear, but come back here and live here in the creation. Fall in love with living in the now. Because when we're not happy with this, it impacts thought process about our worth, our worthiness, that I'm only successful, I'm only worth something when I'm successful. I think the most important advice I give a young person is live present in the now. Well, I'm in a hurry. Well, yeah, you're going to run around like a chicken with your head cut off. I'm going to be in creation. 6 months from now, you're still going to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off, dreaming, thinking, great ideas, and I will have already created half the way to the outcome. Which one do you want to be? Because a year from now, I'll actually have created it. You're still going to be thinking about it and hoping and coming with another idea that would make it easier. That's how most entrepreneurs are spending their time, and they're failing as a result in record numbers. So stay present in the now in creation. Most important thing we can do.
That's amazing to think about, and it's actually a common theme that a lot of the most successful people in the world, the Elon Musks, all of these guys have spoken about is speed, right? Speed to action is more important than this perfection, not getting stuck in this analysis paralysis. You just go out there and do. You're going to suck in the beginning, but you're going to get there eventually if you just have that speed to action.
If you make mistakes, you learn from them. You'll actually speed up the process faster than if you just spend time thinking about it.
Amazing.
It's amazing how much time people spend thinking about it, not enough. Direct speed action.
Amazing. Dave, I've had a great conversation so far. I know we went a little bit above time, just because I was enjoying the conversation a lot. I would love for you to jump on the podcast again at some point, maybe after you write your book. I'd love to read that. For anyone that may be interested in connecting with you on LinkedIn or finding you at Habit Finder, how can we find you?
Facebook, LinkedIn, dave.blanchard.18. That'll take you to my page. If you want to, take the Habit Finder assessment. habitfinder.com/Dave. That way it'll come directly to me, and then I'll know. Just take the assessment. And then we'll get in touch with you. We'll find a time to see what your results look like. That's a gift we give, for you to see what we do. Then we can find out what needs to be done. If you're ready, either myself or one of my great coaches can help you make changes in your life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dave. I've had a great time so far. For any of those listening today, if you have any sorts of topics or issues that you would like me to cover, please comment them down below. If you have anyone that you would want to see on the podcast, please let me know. I'd love to have them on. Dave, thank you again so much, and have a great day, everyone. Please don't forget to subscribe.